Welcome everyone to another episode of An Immigrant's Financial Journey. And today I have an amazing guest. We've actually been complimenting him on his timekeeping. So very, very nice to meet you and happy to have Camille with us in studio. Before that, I'd like to give a shout out to our funders, the Heritage Fund, who have made this possible to bring you this limited edition of the podcast, and look out for the book that's coming out soon as well. So over to you, Camille. I'm really, really intrigued by your name, Camille El Naga.
Yeah.
And I would like to know, if you don't mind starting us off with what it even means.
Okay, thank you very much for having me. And it's a pleasure to be here in this quick meeting. Camille actually, or Camel, means complete. And El Najah means success. So I'm hoping that I got some of the meanings of my name.
It's such an amazing name, complete success.
Yeah.
And also in line with the topic, financial well-being, financial wellness.
I mean, unfortunately, on that aspect, I'm hopeless.
But I couldn't think of a more succinct name
Okay, thank you
that
very
means
much.
what we are trying to achieve with the podcast. So lovely to have you, and let's just dive right in.
Yes.
I'm so intrigued to hear about you, your country of origin, and your heritage. So tell us a bit about growing up and where home was.
I mean, I'm coming from Libya in North Africa.
Okay.
And it's a historic city which is not far from the capital, Tripoli. It's about just over 60 kilometers to the west of Tripoli, called Sabrata. And Sabrata is a historic city, aged more than 2,000 years. I mean, the old Romans have built it. The interesting thing is that the theater is maintained to the point that it is still used till now.
Wow.
Absolutely. And there is a very nice museum very close to it, and it is containing most of the interesting things in that theater or in that city. I mean, all the interesting buildings are still upright.
Wow.
There is another city actually to the east of Tripoli called Leptos Magna, and means that the Great Leptos, which is again another city which is even bigger, larger than Sabrata. And because this is to the east of Tripoli and then that's the west of Tripoli, Tripoli is the third city, and that is why it got its name actually. Tripoli, we call it Tarabolus back home, and actually this is the real name. It's called Tripolis, which is the third city in Latin. So because the two cities, one in the east, one in the south, and this is in the center a bit more towards north, and this is the third of the triangle. So that's why it's called the third city.
And that
Tripolis.
Tripolis is in what language?
It's Latin.
Latin.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we kept the same thing, so we call it Tarabolus.
Okay.
And unfortunately, in the rest of the world, it's called Tripoli without the S.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what language do you speak in Libya?
Arabic.
Arabic?
Yeah.
But you maintained the Roman, because this is interesting. I didn't know that
No, I mean,
was a Greek.
I'm talking about 2,000 years ago.
Okay.
But more recently, as probably you know, that the Italians came there. So what we have inherited a bit is not the language, because, to be honest, although my dad has been taught in an Italian school and he spoke Italian quite fluently, but not most of the population had the chance to learn in the schools. There were no Libyan schools as such, but you have to go to the Italian schools. So what we have inherited from them is just the technical terms rather than a language. I mean, the general public wouldn't speak Italian, but because all the technology came during their presence there, so all the items, especially car parts, anything, electric parts or whatever, we still are calling it to the Italian names because it has been brought by the Italians. We recognized them when they were there, so we just kept that. But as a language, the old Romans have left long time ago. I mean, we're talking more than 1700 years ago.
Yes.
So they have not left any language there.
Okay.
The Italians, because they have not been there for long, from 2011 till 69 or 70, so that did not make an impact in some other countries where the settlement have lasted for much, much, much longer, they left an impact. For example, in Algeria,
Yes.
in Tunisia, a little bit, the French have left some heritage there.
Yes.
But the Italians, unfortunately, either they don't have much to leave, or we are not interested much in taking it. We have not, gained much from them other than, as I said, technical terms for technical things. That's what we kept, because that's the first time we knew it when they were there. So we kept the same names, although we are changing a bit now.
Mm-hmm.
But as a language, we speak only Arabic there.
Okay. And then that means you'll be mostly Muslim.
All of Libya are Muslims.
It's all Muslim.
If you see in Egypt, there are Copts or Christians. In Tunisia, there is a little bit of Jewish there, especially in Jerba. In Morocco, you find some, but in Libya, it's 100% Muslims.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, interesting.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that. So Uganda, where I'm from, most of the towns were named after basically how the colonialists would refer to the town. They would make a mistake with a name, for example, and that's what we would call it. So that was a very big influence. So you can see the street names will be named. So like the names come from the way they wrongly pronounced them, if that makes sense. So
yeah, the colonials in Tripoli, although they have built quite a lot of palaces and streets and things, and although they have named the streets according to Italian names, it has been changed. And in particular that if the same street was called something else before, we just reverted it back to what it used to be.
what it used to be.
Yeah.
Very stubborn nation then.
Yeah. To be honest, they were not welcomed. They conquered the country after more than 20 years of battles and fightings.
20 years?
Yeah.
That's
From
a long time.
1931, actually, when most of the fighting against it was put aside. Even after that, they were not very welcome, to be honest. And in particular, what they were interested in is their own well-being rather than in the population. And that's why if you treat people differently, you wouldn't expect them to accept you anyhow.
Yes.
But if you have taken my land by force, you wouldn't expect me to accept your presence there for indefinite time. So I might accept it because I don't have any other means of rejecting it, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to accept it forever.
That's right, yes. And so when did you get independence then?
1960, that's when we got independence. Most of the African countries and the Arabs in general in the early 60s, they got their independence.
Yes.
But the real independence was when we had our own country. Voted for at the United Nations, and that was in 1950. But we got the independence in 51. Actually, we got a king and a kingdom in 51, but the Italians were still there. So that was very, very, very interesting in the voting at the United Nations, as the votes were exactly the same.
Okay.
50%, 50%. So we had to have one who should swing from one side to the other.
Yes.
So the representative of our country at that time convinced the guy from Haiti, the representative of Haiti in the United Nations. They invited him the day before the second vote, and they tried to plead to him that, you see, if you think about it as your country, what do you wish? Do you wish it to be independent or lying under the occupation of somebody else? And this and that. Although his country was against the independence, he changed it.
Oh, wow.
And he was accepted in a very huge celebration in Tripoli. The ladies were giving him their jewelries, actually. And he got, you know what? In Tripoli, there is a name of a street called Haiti just because of that.
Whoa. So he swung the vote.
Yeah.
In the second vote,
because he has swung from the against to the independence. So that's what made the difference. So 1950 is the vote. And 1951, actually, we got our country. But as completely independence when the Italians have came out there. It was the 70s. I mean, the Americans were there, the Italians were there, the British were there. So between 1969 and 71, they have all gone out. I mean,
Interesting.
yeah, interesting, yeah.
Okay, and so tell me a bit about growing up. What was that like? Because this is really intriguing. So growing up, you very Arabic speaking, so very Muslim driven.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about money and how that looked like. What was the economy like? What currency did you use?
I mean, just from early 60s when I started, I mean, mid 60s when I started knowing about things,
Yeah.
and a bit towards the end of the 60s, money was quite scanty, to be honest. Banks.
What currency did you use?
Currency at that time is the Libyan dinar, which is,
Okay.
like a Libyan pound. From the 1951, we had our own currency.
Okay.
Before then, we were using the Italians, or even before then, the Turkish lira, because Turkey was in power in Libya for about 410 years. That was much before the Italians. Yeah, when the Italians came there, the Turkish have left the country. Unfortunately, at that time, the Sultan there were quite weakened, and their country has weakened a bit, and they just left the country, and the Italians came at that time. So we used to use other currencies, but from 1951, we got our own money. But it was very, very, very valuable, by the way. I mean, the Libyan dinar, which is the Libyan equivalent, the Libyan pound, was the one British pound was just 50 pence of the Libyan pound.
That's
and
a strong
yeah, so
currency.
it's 1 pound Libyan will bring you 2 British pounds, and will give you $3 point something. Yeah. But
That's a very
unfortunately,
strong
the value came down. And at that time, when I was young, you can't buy anything for very, very, very little money, because the value of the money was quite a lot.
Yes.
So you can buy a meter of land with only 1/4 of a pound in the city. I'm talking in the city in
A
Samrata.
quarter of a pound.
Currently, 2,000, 3,000. So it was 1/4 of a pound.
Yes, that's
And in a matter of 60 years, or less than 60 years, yeah. 50, 55 years. At that time, banking was almost unknown. There were banks, Bank of Roma, for example, because when the Italians came there, to be honest, one of the things that they went in through is the banking system. So they brought the Bank of Roma there even before the invasion. So the banks were there, but people wouldn't trust banks a lot. You can hardly have one who got a bank account. I mean, it's only for businesses, for the very wealthy people, but ordinary people wouldn't have any banking account. To the point that my father was a teacher, and when I was in primary school, I just go to the school, and especially in the high school, I go to the school and come back, because we finish at around 2 o'clock and he finished at around 2:30, quarter
Were
to
you
3.
studying in the same school he taught in?
No, he was a bit more boss at that time. I mean, the head of something,
Yes.
their education thing in the city. But he have to stay there till about 2:30 or 3 o'clock, and I finish at 2 at most. So I go there and I just walk around in the building and things, and I was quite interested to see that towards the end of the month, there was a certain person who is in charge of distributing the salaries. So, you know what? One day I was quite nosy, and I want to know how they do it. So you go there, and he got his bag there, and people would come, and he got a list. So, okay, Tina, okay, he put a tick there, and we'll give you in cash your salary,
Yeah.
and it's going to be £10, and then that's 5, that's 1, and then few pennies as well. So every single one get that salary, and it's every month, and then you can do whatever you wish with it.
And no one is taking it to the bank. They want it. They want
What
it
is
in
the
cash.
bank? I mean, at that time, I'm telling you, I mean, it's only very few
Yes.
who would know the bank. And the other thing, they will just use it because the salary is not going to last for long.
Yes.
And even the people who got much more than that, they will try to invest it in something rather than putting it in a bank where you don't trust it or you're not
Yes.
very familiar with. And the other thing, nowadays, the banking is very easy. I mean, internet banking, you go anywhere in any street, you get the money there. If it is weekend, you're
Yes.
not allowed to take any money because it's going to open in 2 days' time. So
Yes.
Monday. And we are social life is very, very, very rich compared to here, as you know. And at that time, there is no emails, message, mobile phone, or even a phone.
Yeah.
So if I decide to come and visit you, I'll just knock the door.
Yeah.
And you have to be compelled because at that time, the electricity was not everywhere as well.
Okay. No power.
No, I mean, the power is there, but it's not in every house.
Yes.
In particular, when I was very young, there was no electricity, for example, in the farmhouse which we got. So you don't have meat in the freezer where you just take it out. So sometimes you have to slaughter an animal because immediately, and then you deal with the rest, give it to the friends or whatever. So how on earth you are going to buy that when you don't have money? So that's why people were not very encouraged to put their money in the bank. And
Banking
the other
wasn't
thing,
practical.
even the psychology of people at that time, no, I would wish to have my money in my hand. That is the people who did not have a lot of money. So few £100, 150, you're going to spend them by the end of the month.
Yes.
But if you got a bit more than that, you know what people in most Africa would do? Put them in a silver thing and then put them in something, another container, whatever, plastic or glass, and bury them somewhere in the garden.
Put in a silver.
I mean, so that the dampness wouldn't come to them, and then you just bury somewhere, and this is an investment for the future.
Interesting.
Or the other
rather
thing,
than go to the bank.
rather than going to the bank, no, they will just keep it there.
So
I mean,
wait,
if
so-
this is a bit extra money that you're not going to use within 1 month or two, so only the very fortunate people who got that luxury of having a bit more money. But to be honest, I mean, just because they are worried about the money, somebody might steal them if they are outside the house or whatever. So a lot of people resort to something else, as I told you, just invest them rather than keeping them. So what they do is buy a piece of land, buy an animal, especially if you are in a farm, you can buy an
Yes.
animal and it is there, so you can invest and you can gain more money. Or it is there available for you if you need it at any time. People who are a bit more wealthy, they try to invest that either by trading, or some people, although they wouldn't invest much, but rather than keeping them as a money where it can be stolen, they buy animals like camels, like sheep,
Yes.
and they send them to a bit of outside the cities. I mean, there are a lot of shepherds, for example, that you can hire. So if
Okay.
you got a lot of animals, for example, you can hire somebody for your own self. But if I got 10 or 15 camels, I mean, it's not worth it because at the end of the year, the salary you're giving is much more than whatever you are gaining. So what used to be is that a shepherd can accept sheep, for example, from many, many, many people. I mean, 3, 4, 5, 6. Even if you got 2, you have to just pay a tiny percentage of whatever you are getting from there just for your share of the salary
But
of that
how
shepherd.
do I know when I come back after a year
Uh-huh.
and my sheep had a baby or all that? How do I keep
Oh,
track?
I mean, the shepherd is extremely good at recognizing them. And people at that time, I mean, one of my grannies used to have 200 sheep. And you know what? He was not allowing his kids to sell any. Sometimes he comes and have a look and he misses one. Where is that one which got this and this and that? So they know their sheep. Although for me, they are all the same.
Yes,
no.
me too.
They are different. They are
Whoa.
absolutely like human beings. Even the same skin color, but one is
They
different
look
than the other.
different.
But I mean, they know it, and the shepherd is very, very skilled to tell you this or that. on top of that, they put a sign on them.
Okay.
So sometimes a little ring in the ears, or even sometimes, unfortunately, they have to burn a bit of the skin for camels in
Yes.
particular. So every sign is for a certain person. So sometimes people who got much, much more money, instead of keeping them somewhere where they can be lost, I mean, camels usually is very, very difficult to lose them. And to be honest, at that time, although a bit more poverty than nowadays, at that time, living is much better than now. So if you lose a camel or if you lose a cow or whatever, you just go to the market, which is once every week, and you spread the word and it will come to you. They will find it anywhere and it will
Wow.
come to you. Yeah. And as I told you, I mean, usually shepherds are very, very good at keeping them. So even if you don't get any profit, these are money like a
Yes,
bank.
yes.
It's there outside the city where that shepherd is, and they are not going to be lost, or very, very likely.
So I have a question about camels. I understand, and now this is interesting because you're talking about like the sheep, which in your grandparents' case, he doesn't want them to be, slaughtered.
No, it's not only slaughtered, not even sold, because he loves them.
So what,
I
he
mean, it's
loves
not
them?
actually my step grandfather. I mean, he's one of the cousins of my father.
Yes.
So, yeah.
But then how is that keeping wealth? Is the plan to then later on
Because
sell them
whenever
on?
you need some money, you just go and get one or two
Right.
camels and you can sell them for the money.
Right.
So
That makes
that
sense.
is like an investment
Yes.
and like a bank. So my money are there.
Yes.
So anytime I want them, I can go and get one.
sell
It's
them.
not a Friday, it's not a public holiday. Anytime I can
I
get
can
one
sell my
and I can
camel.
sell it.
Oh,
And even
interesting.
if I want something, I mean, people used to trust themselves quite well. So if I'm
Yes.
needing something today, I'll just come and take it from you,
Yes.
and then you trust me that I'm going to bring that camel, sell it, and bring you the money. So
Yes.
although, I mean, the word is much better than a bank guarantee. It's
So
finished.
true.
That's
So
full
true.
stop.
You're as good as your word in the community.
Absolutely. I mean, and people know each other. I'll tell you a bit more about that, because at that time, although in the city, or people who are like my dad, who was a teacher from mid-30s till the early 80s, but other people are not working for the government and they don't get money from there. All what they got is, if they are farmers, they are selling their products, or if they are shepherds or whatever, they sell their sheep and whatever. So you would be interested to know, how on earth I don't have currency. So how on earth I'm going to buy the daily things or the weekly things from the shop when I don't have the money, the notes? So very, very, very interesting. I mean, it's not, we have never done it this way, but I knew some people a bit outside the city who were doing this. So every shop close to that tribe or that village or whatever, so every shop deals with a certain group of families, because he trusts the oldest person of this family. He will get his money from whatever, and they trust the shopkeeper as well. So you are the shopkeeper, I'm the person there. So every day I come to tomato paste, spaghetti, rice, whatever. You just write them down, and I trust you, you trust me. You write them down in a book. So this is my book, that's somebody else's book, and every family got its own book. Towards the end of the year, he comes to you, and you got sheep, yeah. So he comes to you and he says, well, what you bought from me is value of 2 sheep, so you give him 2 sheep.
Whoa.
Oh, honestly. And it is, some people, we know them even by names till now. So at the end of the year, he will say, for example, 2 sheep and 10 chicken, for example. Something like that. So you don't have to pay every day, but towards the end of the year, it is going to be 1 camel, 1 cow, or you don't have camels or cows. I mean, it's going to be sheep, but it's going to be 2, 3, 2.5. There is no 2.5. So, or either 2 very close relatives, for example,
Yes.
2 brothers can share. I mean, it's okay, it is 5 sheep, so 2.5 from me, 2.5 from me. Next year, I mean, the other half is I'm going to pay it or whatever. Or the other thing is, okay, some chickens or some rabbits or anything like that. So these are the more primitive areas where they don't have the currency.
There's no need for cash.
Honestly, very, very interesting. Something else which I have heard about a bit later in life, but to be honest, I didn't know about that when I was young. That there is a man whose job is what we call like an assessor. I mean, I'm trying to make the exact translation of it. So he comes to every village certain time of the week, and most of the time when you go there are it's like the Sunday market. It's not a shop, but it's the market where it starts from the sunrise and ends around midday. So it's usually 6-7 hours. People sell anything and buy anything from there. So clothes, animals, food, whatever. I mean, grains, whatever you buy from there. And for example, on Saturday, it's going to be in that village. On Sunday, it's in another village. On Monday, it's another one. So it's the same people who trade go into between different ones. And it's just put your things there. And it's like Sunday market.
Yes.
The interesting thing is that, which I heard about a bit later when I grown up, is that there is somebody, it's like an assessor or something like that. So when he comes to that village, he is known where he's going to stand. Mm-hmm. And you come to him, you say what you are interested to sell. For example, something which you cannot bring to the market every day and you want, or sometimes he just walks around the village and the villagers will know that he's going to come today. Mm-hmm. So you tell him, I want to buy 2 sheep, for example. Mm-hmm. Okay, you put that in mind or write it down or whatever. That one wants a ring of gold. Mm-hmm. That one wants this. That one wants this. So he goes into 5, 6, 7 villages and he exchanges things for people who, you are interested in a sheep, he's interested in a cow. He got a cow, wants sheep, and you want the cow and you want to sell sheep. So he make the exchange between you, and whatever is on top of that, he will tell you have to pay a bit more to him. So he values things and knows that what you need, person got it, and what he needs is this one. So he facilitates the exchange of things, and he gets some percentage of that. Obviously, it's not
he gets
for
a commission.
Not for free, obviously. But I have never seen this myself, but I have heard about it.
This is fascinating. That
Absolutely,
is so rich, so rich. And then, my goodness, I don't even know where to unpack from, because like this assessor is what would be today's equivalent of you going on Facebook Marketplace.
Absolutely. He's the Facebook.
He's Facebook.
We should have invented him a long time ago.
That is so awesome. What I'm wondering, just going slightly back to the village where I come and get things every day, I'm thinking about shopping in today's sense. Where does the shopkeeper get the money to keep stocking up? Because he has a whole year. Well, I suppose he maybe plans for the whole year then?
Absolutely, I think so. I think so.
But
it's not all people will buy that way, by the way.
Yes.
It's only farmers
true.
No. I mean, people who get salary or money, I mean, even from selling, because we got the notes. We got the currency is there. So the notes and the coins are there. But some people are not, I mean, they don't get that easily. And that's why, and the other thing, even I don't want to bring the currency every day to get something for only 10 pence, and then you get me the change. And so it's fair enough. And it worked absolutely well because I know this family and they know me. I trust them and they trust me.
Yes.
So they know that I'm not going to write any more than what they have got, and they are going to pay me towards the end of the year. But the rest, or any person who is getting salary rather than working in a farm, will just pay cash, and the shopkeeper is always will have this cash. And the other thing, at the end of the year, when he get all the camels and sheep or whatever from the farmers or shepherds or whatever, he's going to sell them and he will get that as money, and probably he's going to gain rather than losing. But even the farmers are absolutely happy, because otherwise they can't cope with the day and day-to-day needs. Brilliant. So the bank is getting some commission. So even if she gets some commissions, we are accepting the banks nowadays. So that's why they are accepting him at that time.
That is just so brilliant. So, Camille, talk to me now about moving here. What inspired you to move? Why did you move?
I mean,
then tell me
the
about
thing
money
is-
coming here.
It's not myself who came here first. I mean, I'm from a family of 10 members.
10.
I mean,
so
I'm
you
number-
have 10 siblings.
Yeah, I'm number 9. So I'm the second last. Yeah. My
Number
oldest,
9.
yeah, my oldest is still alive, and he's 86 years old. He's in the States now.
And how old are you, if you don't mind me asking, Camille?
I mean, I'm born 60, so 63.
63.
Yeah. So
And you're the 9th.
9th, yeah. My the youngest sister is 60 now, getting
Wow.
60, yeah. My oldest brother, who is 86 now, is a medical doctor.
Okay.
My second brother, an engineer, oil engineer. The third one is a medical doctor.
Okay.
The other, after that, there are quite a few girls, and they are teachers. And at that time, girls were not going to school. I mean, probably my sisters were among the first in the village who have gone to school, among the first. They were not the first, but they are among the first. I mean,
And is that influenced by your dad being a teacher?
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. And he encouraged my brothers and sisters to carry on. So I got 2 professors, I mean, a sister and a brother of biochemistry. They were teaching in the medical school. They are retired now. So because of having a dad as a teacher, he encouraged us to get more and more. When my brother had his degree in medicine, there was no medical school in Libya.
Okay.
So that was in 1970. The other one had it, the oldest, I mean, had it in late 60s, and that was from Egypt. And then he have done his PhD in Belgium.
Okay.
The second one have done his higher degrees in the States. So it's not me who decided to go abroad and get a higher degree. So it's rooting in the family. So I don't have
It's what had to happen.
no merits of me following this, because my sister had her degree in the States, I mean, the biochemist. My brother, who's a biochemist, he got his degree, PhD degree in London. So, I mean, my brothers and sisters have been before me out. So that encouraged me to get a higher education here. In fact, I mean, I went to Italy and I got a degree there between 90 and 95.
Okay.
And after that, I came here. So,
So
I mean,
you speak Italian then as well?
assolutamente.
A little
quite well, yeah.
Oh, wow.
I used to speak Italian much better than English. I mean, we have done the medical school in English.
Okay.
It has to be only English.
Okay.
And in fact, I mean, we used to have examiners coming towards the end of every year, most of them from Britain, and that's what our teaching is, mostly British. And that's why this will encourage you to come here to get your higher education here.
Yes.
Because it's the same school. And as I told you, most of the time, a small number of examiners from the rest of Europe or America and Canada, but most of the others, if not all, the rest are from here, from the UK.
That's the same as Uganda, that because of the colonial influence,
But
it makes sense
I mean,
to...
Britain colonized the east of Libya for a short period.
Okay.
But it's not because of the long-term effect, but just because we learn in English. So it has to be either America or
the
Britain
UK.
most of the time. And America is farther away, and the system is a bit different than our system, because we got the UK system, even in teaching at the medical school. So it makes it much, much easier for us to come here.
To convert. Okay.
Yeah.
So you went to Italy, studied there, then came to Scotland.
And went back home for a couple of years, and then
came over.
Came here to Scotland. I have been to, Dublin as well, in Ireland, doing the first part of the fellowship exam, because my sister was there doing her PhD for biochemistry, and I just went there because it's much easier to have somebody in the family there.
Yes,
and by the way, when I went to Italy, I mean, my late brother-in-law was the consul there in Milan, so it's much easier to have a family next to you. And I was living in a flat very close to my sister's house, so every day I'm there before coming back home.
Yes.
I have to have my dinner there and get back to home.
That's
so it's
cool.
very, very useful to get somebody there, because You never know. I mean, you always wish to have somebody.
It's very
there.
lonely.
Absolutely. So when I came here, unfortunately, I mean, I didn't have any family members here, but by that time I've grown up. So, I mean, it's fine to be on my own.
So talk to me about coming over then. So you've come, you already have your degrees, you've started.
I have had
here.
my degree,
what are
and
the biggest differences?
you always wish to do some practice after that, because the degree is only something scientific. It's not practical, unfortunately, because a lot of places, for example, in America, you have to have practice. So you have to finish the 5 years of working in a hospital to get. But here, I mean, at least in our time, I'm talking about almost 30 years ago, you have to do your degree and then you can go and start your practice, surgery and medicine. So I've already practiced in Italy, I've already practiced in Libya, but you wish to have some different experience. And usually you will gain something from here, from there, and then you make everything your own towards the end. I'm taking this bit from you, that bit from there, so you are collecting from everywhere. So being here, especially being here for study for some time, as I said, you want to practice whatever you have studied in a place where you have studied it. So I mean, I want to see how they do here, take it back home. I was never thinking of staying here forever. But you know what? Okay, you get this job, you get that job, and then things will go in a completely different way back home. So, okay, I'm not going there till it gets better, and from bad to worse, and it will never get better, because I've never been interested in politics or whatever. But it's the impact on your practice when you want to have this machine for, I mean, what's the point of practicing for that long and then I don't get whatever I want to use, and you have to go to something different or something much more primitive. Okay, I'll just wait till they improve things and the health, I mean, is going to get a bit better so that I can. And as I said, it never happened till now. And after that, you get married, the first son, and then another one, and they start going to nursery, and they start going to school. And then, I mean, fortunately, we were going there almost every year to start with, but during the wartime and civil war thing, after the 2011, we managed to be there 2012, 2014, and after that for many, many, many years. I mean, almost 9 years before we can manage to go back. So it's quite sad, but to be honest, I mean, as long as you are serving people and doing good for others, and you try your best to help as many as you can, even back home, by experience, by whenever we go there, we give advice. Sometimes friends of mine ask me for few things here and there, what you are doing there, what we are doing here, and I send them some materials as well. So we can help there back home, even from our place here.
That's very true, And I think being in purpose, you know, as long as you're helping community as a whole, if you're doing it for
absolutely.
Works. That's very interesting. I'm so sad that we need to wrap this up. It's been such an interesting conversation. We'll definitely want to have you back if you'll accept us.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure.
I want to ask you something around financial well-being here. Many immigrants, when we move across, we find very many unique challenges, you know, trying to build financial lives in the new country. Can you describe any obstacles you encountered or how you went about managing money?
I mean, the first time when we were here, obviously, when I went to Dublin, I had a bank account there with the Irish International, Allied Irish Bank, AIB. So I had an account there. And usually, especially the first time I was coming here, I have to have a bank account to transfer some money in. So it's going to be quite challenging, and I don't want to bring few thousands with me in my pocket. So I had to transfer money to the Allied Irish Bank, and losing some of that money, because any cash machine you go to, you can get the money from there into English notes. But you have to pay a certain amount to them till you make your own account here. So to start with, it's not an easy, and although it is not very difficult, but you have to wait for some time, and you bring your address and proof of address and this and that. So, I mean, it has to take a few months before you settle and you get the addresses and things of confirmation or whatever. And to start with, it's, as you know, it's saving account, it's not current account. And then it was changed. And the first account I made with one of the banks, I'm not making publicity to any of them. So the first account is the account I'm holding till
That
now.
you have
Obviously,
till now.
you
Wow.
get more accounts in the same
Yes.
bank, but it's the same bank. I've never changed.
That's interesting. I'm the same. Like, my first bank account is so precious to me because I struggled so much to get the bank account. So I have it as a prize. I'm like, they were the ones who
Although,
accepted me.
Yeah, and absolutely. Because I tried with another bank and they say, oh, you have to this. Okay, thank you very much. I went to, I mean, it's fine. I
Yes.
mentioned it. It's Bank of Scotland. I went there. They never put any obstacles. Okay, I got the money. I mean, to be honest, one of the interesting things in Ireland, it was much, much, much easier.
To get a bank
So
account
I
and
got
to transact.
quite few $1,000 with me at that time. So it's fine when you got only few. I mean, I was going there only for a few months.
Yes.
So I got few $1,000, and that time is much better than nowadays. You can stay there for quite some time with those few £1,000. So my brother-in-law was there. He accompanied me to the bank, and then I said, I want to open a bank account. He said, well, very, very easy. So I went to the bank. I mean, honestly, it took exactly 10 minutes, I think.
That's amazing.
And the bank account was done. So my brother-in-law had his £10 into his pocket and said, well, we'll just put at least £10 to open the account. No.
Yes.
The account is open. Even with zero money, it's open.
Oh,
That's
wow.
fine. And to be honest, I mean, I don't know if that's naive or from them. So I got those few $1,000. Okay, can I put these into the account? That's fine. So, excuse me, what's that fine? She said, well, we cannot put them straight away because they can't trust that these are genuine dollars till they
Okay.
check them. And they check them, it's not in the same bank, in the central bank, which is not far away, it's in the same city. But who's going to acknowledge that and
I've
you know
checked it.
what? Honest, and this is experience, I will never forget it. So I brought these bundle of cash, put it on the table. That's fine. And she took it. That's fine. So do you know how many? We'll count them. But
Oh, wow.
honest, I'm not joking. Honest. And if I did not see it in front of me, I would have never believed it. Oh, yeah, that's you're right. So she counted them, okay, and she gave me a piece of paper for them.
So very different and smooth banking experience there.
In Dublin, yes,
Yes.
absolutely. And the account was opened, honest, I'm not joking, in 10 minutes plus minus few minutes. So
Wow.
it can be 7 minutes, it can be 15 at most,
Yes.
because that was 30 years ago, I can't remember. But that was shocking to my system because it's even more difficult at my country who know me, who know my dad, who know everybody in the bank, and they will never open it that quickly.
That quickly.
Yeah, but I think it became more difficult, I heard, even there, because at that time everything was going smooth in the world, but unfortunately the bad
Everything's
people
been
wouldn't leave the good people live well. So when they do few things here and there, they will try to make everything a bit more strict and
Yes.
more difficult. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, it's been amazing chatting with
Okay.
you, Camille.
Yeah.
What's your last closing remark? Ideally, a piece of advice for someone that's making the UK home and trying to navigate life and money here. Could you give us one final tip as we sign off?
I mean, a tip is very difficult to get from me because money for me is the last thing. I mean, as long as I'm surviving, I'm getting enough to live. Honestly, you would never believe how bad I am with money. So you should never get an advice from me because otherwise you'll lose all your money.
Well,
At least that's what my wife says.
that's what you. I'll
And-
get your wife in, and she's
but
the one
she-
I'll ask.
Yeah.
It's been lovely having you,
Okay.
Camille.
Okay,
We'll
thank
definitely
you.
have you back in.
Okay,
Thank you so much, and thank you to all our listeners for tuning in today. We look forward to having the next one, and a big shout out to our guest Camille, who has been amazing.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me.
Have a good evening, everyone.
You too, and everybody listening.